This is the Groove Zone.
Aaron.
Darren, you got it.
Got it.
Also known as DJ D Phoenix. So you call me whatever you want.
DJ D Phoenix?
Yeah, I went by DJ D for about 23 years. And
You were a DJ. You're a radio guy.
actually club DJ.
Oh, club DJ. Cool.
Club DJ here about an hour south of Seattle. And
Okay.
yeah, and gave it up back in 2007. Went off and kind of lived kind of a cool, fun life and got back into it 10 years later on the radio.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and it's been a fun run because I get to hang out with people like you.
Okay, good. Good. And this is for radio? Is it a podcast or radio?
Well, it's online radio.
Online radio. Okay.
I mean, and we do a podcast. We've actually got on the station that I'm with, the radio project, we've got a podcast that's kind of based on conspiracy theories and
Oh, great.
zoology and UFOs and that kind of fun stuff. So, yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Awesome. Hey,
Okay.
before we get started, if we
This is the Groove Zone.
Hi, everybody. Fee Waybill here, and you're listening to Neo Retro from Olympia. Enjoy.
awesome, possum. Cool. Thank you, Fee. Shall I call you Fee or John? Which would you prefer?
No, Fee. I mean, John is, my mother-in-law calls me John. No, actually, she calls me Fee, too. The only people that call me John pretty much are, I don't know, people at the, I play polo. People at the polo club.
Wow, okay. A polo player.
Yeah, I'm a polo player.
Awesome.
I have a couple of horses. Actually, I have 4 horses. 2 of them are retired, but the people at the polo club, at least in the beginning, they didn't know any background information on me. It was just,
Right.
hi, I'm John. I don't want to talk about, I want to play polo.
Just kind of like, slip in with everybody else and not be the
Yeah.
celebrity and just enjoy yourself.
Yeah, but now they kind of figured it out after I've been playing for years, and I think this is my 18th year, I think, playing. So they know the deal now.
They probably saw the White Punks on Dope videos and all that. Yeah.
They do. They sometimes play She's a Beauty on the speaker there at the club.
Awesome. Oh, that's too much. Yeah, I'll bet it's hard to go some places these days without hearing one of the Tubes tracks playing in the background.
Yeah.
Actually, where were we? It wasn't here all that long ago, and I think we were at a grocery store at the mall, and Don't Want to Wait Anymore came on.
Oh, really?
You're kind of like looking at condiments and, meats and potatoes. And you're hearing the song, and it's like, gosh, that's the Tubes.
Well, you've made it when you're in the Ralph's, you're in the Safeway. Right.
No doubt, you've arrived.
Really?
Oh my gosh. So what's up with the Fee these days?
Well, we're not doing any gigs, that's for sure.
Yeah,
I'm working on some projects. I'm actually working on 2 books and a second poetry book, and I'm working on a big coffee table book. It's going to be like this. It's called Fee Waybill's Guide to an Unknown Trail, and it's kind of it's kind of a compendium. It's kind of my whole life, my whole story with pictures and posters. And, I found we've been working on it for years and years. I saved all the clippings and the magazines and the reviews, and then my mother had another 5 boxes full of stuff from all of the years of the tubes. So we're trying to compiling all of that and putting it together, and we've got some people helping, and my wife Elizabeth has really been instrumental. And in fact, she just talked to a person today about rights clearances.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And so working on that. Actually, I'm working with Richard on. I want to re-release my previous solo album, "Don't Be Scared by These Hands," which I did in like '97, and it really didn't see the light of day at all. And
what label was that on? Was that Capitol?
No, it wasn't on any label. It was on a label that went out of business. It was called Thoughtscape, I think, or Soundscape. Some little dinky label that had no distribution, no advance, no nothing. And it's gone out of business completely. So now I own that. It was a license deal, so I own that record. And we want to add a. In fact, I just wrote another song with Richard as a bonus track. So I want to re-release that record and add a bonus track to it, or maybe 2. I don't know. We're. It's funny, he sent me a song the other day, and we always say this. He sent me a song the other day, and I said, "Oh, Richard, what are we doing? Why are we writing this?" And he goes, "Well, I don't know, but basically it's because it's what we do." It's what we do, okay? Whether it's for you or for me or for somebody else, it doesn't really matter. It's what we do.
No doubt.
And so that I've been, doing that, and I've been, we adopted a dog early in the year. Actually, last December, no, a year ago December, we adopted a dog that was rescued in China.
Really?
Yeah, Harbin, China. I guess in Harbin, they eat dogs for dinner a lot, and there's people there that are rescuing dogs and sending them over to the USA. These friend of a friend, and in December, a girlfriend of my wife's, she said, "Well, we have this dog. It's a female yellow lab, and we can't seem to find a home for her, and she's been here. She grew up in a cage in China, and so we went to meet the dog, and of course, instantly you fall in love with the dog.
I'll bet.
And she's right here with me, Daisy.
Oh, hey, Daisy.
And she's so we take her to the park every day, and we so that's been every day we go to the dog park and with the dog, and so I've been doing that, and I've been playing polo, and I've been working out, and trying to stay in shape, and not just let it all slide away. Here we're looking at a year now since we've done a gig.
Oh yeah. Now, were you guys on the road or heading to the road at all right before all this happened?
Yeah, we had just come back from a big road trip end of January, and had dates booked in March, and had dates booked in, early springtime, and we were planning to do, it never happened, we were planning to do a tour with, I think, Rick Springfield. We were going to do a shed tour. Do like 4,000 or 5,000 seaters. Wow. And we just had signed with a new agency, AEG, and or AGI, I can't remember now. And we had signed with in 2019, we hadn't been managed for a long time. I was the manager, and I was everything. I was the manager, the accountant, the travel agent, everything. And we found this guy, Jonathan Wolfson, his name is, and he's a manager that's affiliated with Live Nation, and he manages Hall & Oates and Loverboy and Huey Lewis, who hasn't really got back to performing yet, you know. And then he took us on. So he only had 4 bands, and he's here in Los Angeles. And the guy he used to be a press agent. The guy is brilliant. And he's really turned Hall & Oates' career completely around.
They're a lot more in the news lately. Or not maybe
Yeah.
news, but at least in the entertainment news. And I'm kind of like, where did this happen? You know, it's like,
Yeah.
one of the cool things though about, especially for a dude like you, you know, the truth, having been around at one point and just, you know, kind of at the peak of your career years ago, but then that circle happens, and, you know, if you find the right agent or whatever, you know, you're at some down the road, you find yourself back in the spotlight again.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we have, thanks to him, he certainly turned it around for Hall & Oates, and people didn't even know they were together anymore. And now they're back out, well, they're not back out, but they're actually planning to go out in August and do a big 40-show tour. And also he has Loverboy, and we did a lot of gigs with them in 2019. And Mike Reno and I have been friends for a long, long time. And we used to do, you know, these lead singer gigs together, where it would be just a bunch of lead singers for a corporate party, you know.
Oh, wow.
And he's been, and it's been great going out with those guys. They're great, and he's such a great singer. And so that was fun. And
I need to try.
I've just been, you know, trying to stay busy and work on projects and stay positive and stay in shape, and you know,
well, you look good. You look really good. You look like you're happy and healthy.
Yeah, I am. I actually just got, what is today? Wednesday. It's been a week. I just got my first vaccine.
Did you?
Because I'm over 65. And
you wouldn't know it though, my friend.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, really good.
And I finally managed to get in line. They were giving shots at Dodger Stadium, and yeah, and there was thousands of cars in line. I had to wait 2 hours, but you finally get up to the thing. You don't even have to get out of the car. They just say, "Okay, roll your sleeve up," and bam, right through the driver's side window. There you go. Okay.
Way.
Come back in 3 weeks, you know.
Listen for you. Oh my God. Drive-by inoculation. And
Drive through.
How are you feeling after that?
I'm good. I'm fine. I've been very, thanks to my wife, you know, we've been very, very careful, and we don't go anywhere. We don't go to restaurants. We don't go anywhere. You know, we go to 2 places. On Tuesday, we go to dinner with her brother and sister-in-law.
Okay.
And on Saturday, we go to lunch with her mother. And that's it. We just see family. We don't go out. We don't do anything. We stay safe. We wear masks. We social distance. You know, I don't want to get this at the last minute when it's actually starting to turn around here, you know?
No doubt. Or like a lot of people feel, and that's one of the reasons too why the entertainment industry hasn't really booted back up all the way yet.
Right.
He wants to be that guy that gets other people sick.
No.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So now, okay, I think I heard right. You are in Los Angeles. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you were in LA these days or in San Francisco. So.
No. I've been in LA for years. You know, I moved here in, 88, 89. I've been here for years and years.
Okay. And actually, I've noticed looking back at the Tubes biography that the band actually started in Arizona. Isn't that correct?
Well,
or at least the original members did.
No, well, all of the original members were from Arizona.
Okay.
Roger and Prairie, and a bass player named David had a trio in Arizona called the Red, White, and Blues Band. And Bill Spooner and Vince and Rick and a guy named Bob, they had a quartet in Phoenix called the Beans. And what happened was Prairie Prince, our drummer, got a scholarship to the San Francisco Art Institute. He was an artist, and he's really good. And so he got a full ride scholarship, and I was just a friend. I was never in a band in Arizona. I was a friend. I used to go see them play at a little club called the VIP in Phoenix. And I had, strange story, but I
like strange stories.
Yeah, I was going to Arizona State University. I was in college, and I was in my second year of college, and I kind of just didn't want to do it anymore. I don't know what I had wanted to be in a band for my whole life, and I ended up moving. I ended up dropping out of college and moving to a ghost town in northern Arizona called Jerome.
Okay.
With a bunch of other hippies. There's about 10 of us. And we used to go, we used to hang out together and smoke pot and take LSD. And we said, let's just tune in and drop out, just like Timothy Leary said. Okay, let's do it. And so we all left and we moved to Jerome. And Jerome was a little ghost town on the side of a hill, Mingus Mountain, and it used to be a mining town. There was a Phelps Dodge Mining Company had a copper mine on the and the whole side of the mountain had holes dug in it where they were digging for copper, and they were mining copper, and they had a big smelt plant, or they were doing copper mining. And the mine went out of business because they used up all the copper.
Okay.
And so this whole side of the hill, this whole little town had all of these little shacks that the miners used to live in. And they were just clapboard shacks, no electricity, no running water. Actually, they had running water. They had no electricity.
Wow.
And there was holes everywhere. If you didn't watch out, you'd fall in a damn mine hole. And, so we all moved to Jerome because you could squat in a miner's shack.
Really?
And nobody cared because there wasn't really, there was nobody living there. There was a bunch of old people there. There was nothing. No one cared. So we all moved there, and each of us got our own shack. and so I had no money. I had no job. I had nothing. My dad used to bring us 25-pound bags of brown rice, because that's all we would eat, brown rice.
Wow.
And we'd all get together in somebody's shack and make a giant pot of brown rice and eat it, and then and wait for somebody to come from Phoenix with pot to smoke. We had no pot. So I finally I couldn't take it anymore, being broke and having I remember I had 8 cents in my wallet for like 3 months.
Oh my
God. And I finally said, okay, no, I can't do this anymore. And down the hill in a little town called Cottonwood, there was a bunch of cattle ranches. And I heard that this cattle rancher guy was looking for cowboys to ride the range.
Right.
And my family, my dad was a riding instructor, and we had horses. Since I was a little kid, I was riding a horse.
That probably put into polo then, huh?
Yeah, and right. So polo was great for me because I knew how to ride, and so I went to this cowboy, and I had big hair. I had just out gone, this was before I understood what conditioner was. And my hair was like out to here. And I had all this hair, and the guy was his name was Dave Perkins, and he was one of 5 sons of a patriarch who they named a town after. There's a town called Perkinsville. And this guy was a cowboy that came from Texas and herded a bunch of longhorn cows from Texas to Perkinsville and developed this ranch. And he had just thousands of acres and so he gave each of his 5 sons a ranch. And Dave was the youngest. Okay. And Dave was more of a progressive kind of guy. And whereas everybody else in town, all the cowboys, thought hippies should be, roped and tied and had their hair cut off.
Exactly. Yeah.
And this guy was pretty cool. And so I said, I can ride. Will you hire? And so he hired me. And I made $50 a month with room and board.
What year are we talking? What year was this?
This was 1968.
Wow. Okay.
And so in January of 68, I moved to Jerome. And by about March, I was tired of being broke and being a hippie with no electricity. So I moved to Dave Perkins's ranch, and I went to work for him riding the range. And he had 250,000 acres of Forest Service lease. And on that 250,000 acres, he could run his cattle, but it was desert. So there was so little food for a cow to eat,
right,
that they mandated that on all of that land, you can only have 150 cows. That's all the food there was.
Wow. Okay.
And so, the job was, and the first thing was, it was springtime, so you got to go out and round up 150 cows and get their babies and castrate them.
I couldn't. I don't think I could.
I couldn't. But I would, you have to go out on 250,000 acres and find 150 cows. So they're pretty, that was a big job, and we used to sleep out on the range. And so anyway, I did that for I did that until the fall of '69. And during that time, I knew Roger Steen's band. Okay. and we lived in this. Eventually, we moved to this little cabin on a creek called Sycamore Creek. And I said, you guys ought to come up. This is really great. It's wilderness. It's great. And what they would do is they would fill their truck up with their gear. They had a equipment truck, yeah, and they drive it up there. And they had a generator, a gas-driven generator, and they plugged the gear into the generator, and they would play to the desert.
How cool, though.
There was 4 of us.
Wow.
Who lived in the Packard place. There was 4 of us, and they would just set their shit up and play. And just to be playing in the wilderness, it was so great.
I'll bet. What were the acoustics like? Because really, the sound had to have bounced off of something.
Well, they would play up against the side of our cabin, but mostly the song, you just gone. If you weren't standing in front of the speakers, you didn't hear anything. It was...
Wow.
So they did that a number of times, and then, like I said, in the summer of '69, Prairie got the scholarship together to move to San Francisco to go to the Art Institute, and so they decided we're gonna take the band to San Francisco because we don't want to break up.
Right.
So it's funny. The bass player was a guy named David, and he was kind of a shifty kind of guy. Okay, and David asked on one of the times they were up there playing in Sycamore Canyon, he said, you want to be in the band? He asked me, do you want to be in the band? And I just kind of like, God, are you kidding me? I've wanted to be in a band my whole life. And he goes, and I said, well, you know, I am kind of a really bad guitar player. I mean, I used to play Bob Dylan songs on my guitar, you know, just chords.
Right.
Roy Orbison songs, you know, just chords, and sing, you know, Crying by Roy Orbison. I said, well, I can't really play guitar very well. And he goes, I want you to play logs. And I went, what? Logs? What do you mean logs? He goes, you know, like those big African hollow logs with a couple of big sticks. I just went, I really never been a drummer, but I couldn't very well say no. I said, okay, I'll play logs. He goes, okay.
Why not?
Okay, well, I said, okay. And he goes, we're going to move to Tucson, you know, in southern Arizona. We're going to move to Tucson for the summer of '69 because we're sick of being in Phoenix. And we're going to move there, and we're going to play gigs in Tucson. So you're going to be playing logs there. Okay. So I leave the cattle ranch. I leave Dave Perkins, and I move with them to Tucson.
Yeah.
Well, it turns out there's no logs. I never saw a log, never played a log.
Oh,
what I did was, we need you to set up the equipment and drive the truck and cook dinner.
Oh, okay.
So I became the cook, chief cook, bottle washer, truck driver, and roadie for the band.
Oh,
And I had no technical experience whatsoever. I mean, what I knew was you turn the ON switch in the ON position. That's it. That was the extent of my technical ability.
Oh, God.
And so we played in Tucson that whole summer. And then in the fall, in September, it was time for Prairie to go to school. So they went, okay, well, we're going to fly to San Francisco. You drive the truck. So we had this great big truck. It was a milk truck.
Okay.
Remember when milk used to be delivered door to door? And it was a milk truck with a big sliding door and racks in the back, and they had gutted it, and they would put all their equipment there. It was a great big truck.
Oh, okay.
And so I drove the truck to San Francisco, and we moved to San Francisco, and we lived in this little house in the Sunset District, 48th and Noriega, 46th and Noriega, and we did little gigs here and there, not very many, and I was the roadie guy, and eventually, you know, we had a like a two-story house, and the second story was the living area, and the basement, or the first story was the garage, and that's where the band would set up their gear and they would play in the garage. Well, we would play, and you know, the house was made out of cardboard practically, and so the whole neighborhood could hear us playing, and people would come by and they'd stand outside and they'd listen, and we met this guy came by who was a pot dealer, and his name was Spike.
Spike, there you go.
Spike the pot dealer, and he used to give us pot to smoke. And what happened was that the bass player guy got so stoned that and it was a 2-bedroom house, right? There's 5 of us. Right. There's the 3 guys in the band, there's me, and there's a manager guy named John, who was like another high school guy who didn't really know anything about being a manager other than, you know, calling himself the manager.
Right.
So Roger and Prairie got the actual bedrooms. John got the back porch. I slept in the attic, where I put a flooring down in the you know, the struts of the attic floor. And Dave lived down in the garage, and he like built a corner of the garage with you know, old wood parts that we found.
Right. Wow.
So he got so stoned that it finally got to the point where he couldn't make it from his bedroom in the garage to the center of the garage where they were going to rehearse. and and so they kicked him out of the band. And so then they tried to find another bass player, and we put ads in the Haight-Ashbury Free Press to find a bass player, and they used to audition bass player guys, and they couldn't find one, and in the meantime they would practice without him, and he was like the lead singer guy of the band, and I knew all the songs, so I would go down and sing lead because they didn't have him anymore.
Right.
And so they kept practicing, and and I kept singing, and and I was a good singer, and my mother was a singer, and I'd been singing my whole life. So so what happened was Bill's band moved from Phoenix to San Francisco. His band, the Beans, and at one point they finally decided they couldn't find a bass player, and Bill's manager and our manager knew each other very well, and so our manager suggested, why don't Roger and Prairie join your band, and we'll have a big Arizona super band, okay? And there'll be 2 lead guitar players, 2 drummers, keyboards, bass. And okay, great. So they did, and Bill's band already had 3 roadies. So I'm without a gig. And so Rogers says, he could probably sing background vocals. He's a pretty good singer. He could sing background harmonies.
Right.
I said, yeah. Okay, great. And so I did. So I became the background singer, and we started doing gigs with them.
Okay.
And for a while it was the Beans, and then another band, a band from New Jersey, came out with an album, and the name of their band was Beans. And so we had to change their name. And at that point, I had kind of, they kept singing. They're saying I sing too loud. You sing too damn loud. And then finally they said, well, why don't you just sing lead then? And because the guitar players didn't really want to sing, they just wanted to put their head down and play guitar.
Right.
So I became the singer, and we changed the name to the Tubes.
Okay.
And,
wow. That's incredible. I remember. Okay, so I was introduced to you, and I wanted to hit on this anyway. Actually, let me do this real quick. Do I still have you for about 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes or so?
Oh no, you're my last interview. You can have me as long as you want.
Rock and roll. Okay, cool. Let's do a quick station ID, and then I'll continue. Hey guys, you're listening to Neo Retro. This is DJ D Phoenix, coming to you live this morning from Olympia, Washington, but also from Los Angeles. I am really stoked to be able to hang out for a while this morning with Fee Waybill of the Tubes. Fee, how you doing?
I'm still here, man. I'm doing good. It's a beautiful day in Los Angeles. Hopefully it is there too.
What's your temperature? What is it down there right now?
Sun is shining. It's gotta be.
This is the Groove Zone.